Domain name system. For every domain on the internet exists a machine called the server, whose job is to listen for requests that are made to that domain. Domain examples include google.com, cfisd.net, and temu.edu, just to name a few. Whenever you want to request a resource from a domain, you do it by sending the request to the domain's IP address, something every single domain on the internet has. For example, Google's IP address is 64.233.160.200. If I were to type this IP address into my browser, it would take me straight to google.com, which brings us to the purpose of a domain name system. Domain name systems exist for the same reason contact lists and phone books exist. The reason phone books and contact lists exist is because humans have an easier time memorizing names than they do phone numbers. So contact lists and phone books save humans the hassle of having to memorize phone numbers for all of our contacts. Rather, instead, we just have to memorize the name. Same thing with IP addresses. While IP addresses are precisely the way computers communicate, humans don't memorize numbers very well, especially long 32-digit numbers. It's much easier to memorize www.google.com than it is to memorize Google's IP address. Hence why we have a domain name system whose job is to translate website names to their IP address. Whenever we want to request a resource from a domain, we type in the domain name, and then the DNS system will then translate that name to the actual IP address, similar to how a contact list translates a contact name to a phone number. So let's go into how the DNS system is set up. Whenever you make a request for a resource, that request gets sent to the root server. All requests go to this one root server. The root server will then determine what kind of domain are we requesting from. Are we requesting from a .com domain, or a .edu domain, or a .gov, or a .org, or a .me, or a .de domain? Suppose the website I'm trying to visit is www.stanford.edu. That means we're searching for a .edu domain. So the root server will then forward that request to the .edu server. The .edu server will then search all of the .edu servers for the precise domain we're looking for until it locates it. Once we've located it, we then need to determine what type of subdomain are we requesting from. Are we requesting from www.stanford.edu? Are we requesting from parents.stanford.edu? Are we requesting from alumni.stanford.edu? So on and so forth. Clearly, we're requesting from the www subdomain, so that's where the request will then get forwarded to. Once we retrieve the resource we're asking for from that server then gets forwarded back up the server chain until it reaches the root server. The root server will then send that resource back to the browser for the browser to then display it on the screen. So, why do domain name systems use this type of setup? Why have 6 servers for each type of domain? Why not just have one root server that searches through all the domains whenever we make a request? Well, it's set up this way for the same reasons you probably don't keep all your homework and notes in the same folder or the same binder. You keep it separated by subject. The reason most of you do that, and the reason the domain name system is set up this way, is because it makes searching faster. It would be much faster to search for a .edu domain amongst only the other .edu domains than to search for it amongst all of the domains in the entire internet.